Welcome to Saturday's Warrior for my not so instant reaction to the BYU West Virginia game last night. I was actually at the game and drove 5 hours all the way home after, so I had lots of time to sit and stew on it. And now, fortunately, daylight savings, I was able to sleep in just a little bit. Been up with the kids and doing breakfast, all that stuff. And now I'm finally finding a moment just to kind of get some thoughts out. Now, the game was what it was, and I'll get to a few thoughts of that. So first, I just want to talk a little bit about the experience, though. So I had a very good experience at the game. Fans were, beforehand were really nice. They'd stop and say, thanks for coming, welcome, hope you're having a good experience. I even was able to meet up briefly with Kuz from Kuz's Corner, who we actually had on earlier this week in a preview of the matchup, and it was fun. It was a cool stadium. Cool environment. Overall, though, I would say, it was relatively empty. There were a lot of empty seats, especially on the second levels, and the stadium really was not that loud. Even, as the game was starting, as the game still looked like it could be competitive, the crowd was not really that into it, that loud, and I was kind of expecting more. So, again, I understand that West Virginia isn't, the world beater that, and isn't, has kind of come down a notch from where the program used to be, but they're definitely outperforming expectations from before the season. This game had bowl eligibility on the line. They're still playing for pride and for, and showing the world, that they're there to compete. And so to have such a kind of tepid response from all the fans was kind of interesting, because I was excited to go to this game for the wild environment. So anyway, I don't want to knock on them. They were all really gracious and went really well, and it was a great time, great environment to be in, and we had some fun. So anyway, now to the game. I don't know, like it's interesting being at the game, the experience, because you can view the whole field, but I still find myself watching the quarterback and where's the ball, and so I still miss a lot of the action in terms of, who's getting open, how they got open, and what the defense is doing. You don't have the benefit of instant replay, and the guy on the board didn't, was not playing most plays on replay. So, and it wasn't just BYU on either side of things, and there were other times when he's trying to show replays, and you could see his mouse up there scrolling. He's trying to get the right feed up, and it was a little bit of a mess. And so there's a lot of things I didn't get the benefit of a closer look at. I'll have to go back and watch the highlights if I can stomach it, just to see some things. And the depth perception is off a little bit. There was early on when we were trying to stop him on, I think it was 4th and short, maybe 4th and 1, and I thought that we had him from my perspective, and they ended up getting the first down. So I don't really know how close it was or wasn't. But so let's first start with, in terms of performance from BYU, the offense. So Retzlaff, I thought, looked good. I mean, maybe the result is the same as if Slovis had been in, but he was at least entertaining to watch. It was fun watching him move, and you could definitely see some potential. He had he could definitely launch that ball, and having just that other element of mobility from him, where he could run and quickly pick up at least some yards, if not the first down. And I also felt like, even though he was running quarterback and he's young, usually you see they just tend to run all the time. And I felt like there were times that he had open space and he chose to kind of sit back and throw, even when it didn't result in a catch. And so I felt like that showed some restraint, that he was really trying not to just be twitchy and just run all the time, that he was really trying to make his reads and get the ball down the field. So I thought that was good. I was really impressed with him. In terms of the receivers, it felt like, again, I was often watching the quarterback, so I didn't see, all the routes and everything being run, but it felt like they were, the same as when I watched it at home, that they just didn't seem to be able to get the space that they needed. And even with a lot of the quick outs to the side to try to pick up a few quick yards, they closed in on that so fast. So I don't know if there were other blocks not being made or what, but they closed in on our guys so fast that it was really hard to pick up a lot of ground. On the other hand, our receivers also dropped a ton of passes. At least that's how it felt to me. Is there were so many passes. Some of them weren't great and they were understandable, and some of them were even well defended. And the defender getting a hand or something on the ball and knocking it loose. But there were so many where I was like, oh yeah, he came down with that. And then next thing you know, you see the ball rolling away. What happened? How did you not have that? You had it, and and several of them, it's like, oh, if you catch that, there's at least 5 or more yards you have in front of you before you get hit. And then on the plays that were successful, and speaking of drop passes, because Chase Roberts had one, but it looked pretty well defended, and then Isaac Rex had a huge one that he dropped, and that's just he wasn't getting a lot of action. I saw him coming in and out a lot. I don't know if that's typical, maybe with the packages we run, but he just, it seemed like Isaac Rex was coming out of the game a lot. So anyway, but then he gets this pass. It's a huge pass, and again, I think it was relatively well defended, but he's a bigger guy. He's got to be able to pull that in. So I don't know if it's an effort thing from our receivers, if they're just getting outplayed, but you think we have our backup quarterback coming in. You come in and play with some heart or something. You saw like what happened with TCU and with Texas, and these other teams, when these backups come in and the team kind of rallies and say, we gotta work to protect our quarterback. We gotta work to really help him out here, and we gotta go extra. And it really felt like BYU didn't have that level of effort. That it just, you had Retzlaff out there playing for his life, and nobody else was really, doing their part. They felt indifferent, and that's probably not how they feel, but that's how their effort on the field looked. So I feel positive about Retzlaff. Again, at least it was entertaining. I feel like he showed a lot of good things that he's going to be able to continue to build off, and I feel good about him being at least in the quarterback mix for the future of BYU, and I feel like there's a lot of potential there. In terms of defense, I have no idea what was going on, and I kept trying to watch formations, and I'm trying to remember these things that I've watched from John Beck and his breakdowns, and say, okay, where's the where it's going, but we don't have the benefit of rewinding and watching every movement, so it was hard for me to see exactly what was happening. All I saw were holes, and I just know, like, it felt like on average, and maybe, and I need to look at the stats, maybe their average run was longer than 6 yards, but it felt like that was, you got the mean median mode. I feel like that was the mode, 6 yards. It was like they would run and be like, I can't really tell exactly where it is. I'm guessing it was 6 yards, and sure enough, almost every time it felt like 6 yards. And if you're picking up 6 yards on every run, you're going to keep moving the ball. And they had so many explosive runs too, where they just picked up so many yards. I'm surprised some of those did not just completely break away for a touchdown. So at least our last lines were able to bring the guy down. But I don't know how those holes open up so much. I mean, these were not just like picking up all these yards with like bruising over and carrying people over them. They were just like finding holes. They were just like blowing past people, and it was crazy. I don't know what the answer is on defense there, because I've actually felt like throughout the season, our defense has actually played really well, enough that if they had some help from the offense, the team would be more in the game. But this defensive effort was, I don't know if it's effort, scheme. It doesn't seem like the talent was that different. Like, we've played other teams where we look smaller or they look faster. This just looked like, I don't know. I don't know what it is. And so in terms of coaching on our offensive side, and Satake, I know there's been a lot of calls for firing people. I don't think Satake is going anywhere. One season we knew this was going to be a rough season, and I think, for being the culture and the head, the cultural aspect and the face of the program, I think he's great for that. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes in terms of how he runs the program and the X's and O's. A-Rod, I don't think he'd be going anywhere either. I think he's shown enough in the past. But, some of these other coaches, I don't know. It just feels like our offense feels a lot like how our defense felt last year, and they got rid of basically the whole staff. So you would think that there's going to be some changes on offense this year. And I don't know what the answers are for that, but it definitely feels like there need to be some changes because this was just abysmal. And I am trying to stay more positive on all this because I was at the game and I didn't, I was just trying to have fun and be in that experience. And so I feel like I'm still, in many ways, I'm still more disappointed by the women's soccer loss to Texas last night in the championship game than this game because I expected to lose. I knew we were bad. Seeing it in person was at least, I got to go to the game and do that and see the new quarterback and see some exciting plays. So I guess I was looking at the positive of it that way. But yeah, when we sit back and look at the program, there need to be some changes. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, this is a long-winded rant. I haven't gotten a lot of sleep, and so hopefully this was coherent enough. And if you're still down, it's Sunday, go to church, and hopefully that'll lift your spirits up a little bit. Remember just try to keep some perspective on the whole thing, and maybe we'll get through this. And BYU's playing for their life this week against Iowa State in order to get a bowl game, so hopefully we see better effort. And as always, go Cougs.